So you might have a Kelty staff pole hanging around that over time has lost its snap, and the chuck cords inside won't keep the poles together when you lift up the sections. So just like any other tent pole, you should be able to replace the shock cords. I'll show you how to do that. So this Kelty staff pole really does set up just like a regular tent pole that you would have for any fixed standing tent. The problem here is the way this grommet tip has been press fit into the tube, and I was told that it's glued in. And I took a channel lock to it and some locking pliers, and this bad boy's not going anywhere, so you're kind of stuck with having to work with this thing on the end. The bottom base has a rubber cap that just slips off. This is the easiest part of the repair, and doesn't require any special tooling or anything to get at the knot end that's at the top of this tube segment. So here are the parts you're going to need to replace the shock cords in the Kelty staff pole. You got the poles themselves, some bungee cord, a wire hanger, I'll explain that in a minute, some pliers, some lockable forceps or hemostats, a pair of scissors, and a mini bolt cutter to cut the hanger. I'll explain that in a minute. I'm using the shock cord replacement kit from MSR. You can choose whatever is handy or available to you at your local sporting goods shop. I just had this handy in the parts bin. One thing to notice about this particular shock cord, the core is made from silicone cords, so it'll be a little more long-lasting than the latex rubber that were used in the original shock cords of the staff poles. So we'll see how that sets up in a moment. So here's a close-up of the hanger. It's just your generic wire hanger from the dry cleaners, but you're going to sacrifice this and cut this to make this specialized tool for the clip extraction. Okay, so here's what the hanger looks like after it's been cut up. Basically what I did was cut off the hanger part of it, the hanger loop, and just left the rest of the wire. Then I straightened it out at one end and used the pliers to fashion a hook. Can you see that? Because what you're going to do with this hook is reach inside the tube by the tip and pull on the clip to get it out so you can access it with the pliers. Alright, so that's the extraction tool. It's a good idea before you disassemble this thing, cut the cord to label the tubes, just so you can reassemble them in the same order. So I started with one as the bottom base tube and then just worked up to the fourth tube, which has the grommet tip. Okay, just wanted to isolate the tube, top tube number 4, that has the clip inside that we're going to extract. So it's this guy right here. You can't really capture it in the video, but at home what you can do is take a flashlight and shine it down the tube and you'll see what I'm talking about. About 4 inches down inside the tube is this spring clip assembly thing. Looks like the hinge part on a safety pin, and the spring tension on the legs hold it against the tube wall, so it can only really be taken out easily one way. And since the tip on the other end is pressed in, that's why we need our specialty tool. Alright. Okay, so we're taking the clip extractor and putting it in the tube. And you don't have to go that far in. Like I said, it was about 4 inches inside. And if you spin the hook around a little bit, you should be able to grab one of the legs of that spring clip and then just pull with some gentle pressure but consistent and pull it all the way out of the tube until it's just at the end. And I'll show you that. Okay, if you hooked it right, you'll see the clip here. Okay, so that's what you want to grab a hold of with your pliers to get the end of the shock cord out of the tube. After this point, it's pretty much a basic setup like any other tent pole. Just for clarity's sake, I just wanted to illustrate how this hanger concept works to get the clip out. So here's the clip that would be inside the tube, and here's the hook on that hanger wire, and all you're trying to do is just pull that out so that it loosens the tension enough to pull the whole assembly out. You could assist with pulling on the cord that's already tied to it. Alright, so that's the concept. So now I'm getting ready to cut the old bungee cord. And when you split this pole apart, you can see how the old cord has just deteriorated over time. So I put the hemostats on the segment of the cord between tubes 2 and 3 just to hold it in place, because when I cut it, whatever elastic is left is going to pull the pieces into the tubes. And I'm not so worried about the spring end, but the other end that has the washer here on the base, and I don't want to lose it yet, so that's what's next. There probably won't be any snap back from the old cord, but just watch your eyes and your face. So here we see the cord cut now, and the hemostats holding on to the end piece with the base. Okay, so now we're going to take the base off, and I've already pre-loosened it, so you may have to struggle with it a little bit, but it should just slip off, just like that. Then if you shine a flashlight at this back end, and like all the way towards the end, right at the top where the ferrule is, right here, there's a little washer right here. And the bungee cord is tied to it with, I think, a single knot, and the size of the washer prevents it from coming up through that piece of the tubing. So now that you've got the base off and you've clipped the cord, all you got to do is let it go. Alright, so we'll see what happens here. So the cord came out really easily out of the first top part. And now I'm just going to slide it down. And voila, there it is. Oops, see? This is the piece that just slipped out of the tube. See the washer tied on? Simple knot, just to keep it tensioned inside the tube. Okay, so now that we've got the old cord out, I'm going to start restringing, starting with tube 3 from the top and down, and continue threading till I get to tube 1, which is my bottom tube. Okay, what I've done is I've restrung the 3 tubes, and retied the new shock cord onto that washer. Alright, and so make sure that you pull that in tight. I used a figure 8 knot and pulled it tight. Got about 1 inch of excess on the end just to make sure that when you pull it, it doesn't stretch and loosen up. Oh, and another thing that's nice about this kit, it comes with a red clip in the package, and you can use that to help tension the shock cord. So what I'm going to do now is pull it through, fold it up like this to get a good amount of tension, and clip it in place for the last replacement piece of the top tube. So now I have all 3 tubes connected with the tensioner on top, and I'm checking for the tension that's on the cord now. And so my way to check it is to lift from the top tube in this section. You can see how it's still kind of loosey-goosey, so I'm going to tighten up. Okay, and so here are the tubes, 1 through 3 connected, and the cord is tensioned now, so it's holding together pretty well. So now it's time to hook the top part with the grommet tip on, keeping the tension that we've already set up. Okay, so I'm going to cut off the length so it's about 4 inches or so past the red clip, and that should give enough tension when we push this back into the top tube so that it still stays a little tight. And don't forget to torch the end so that the outer wrapper doesn't come unraveled. So here's the end of the cord knotted to the wedge clip on the inside of the hinge, so that the outer part of the legs can grip the tube when you push this back in. Okay, so what I did off camera was use the end of a felt tip pen that had sort of a square end to it to push the spring into the tube. So now the legs are started compressing against the tube. I don't know if you could see that. So now it's just a matter of pushing the spring deep enough into the top tube to give it that final tension. And I had to switch to the hemostats because I found that the red clip wasn't strong enough with the cable at tension. Here's the final piece, and it looks just good as new. Once you get everything knotted up and reconnected, checked out the tensions, put the rubber base cap back on. Should just slip back on, and you're ready to go. Have fun, get out there.